in the Portland, Oregon area for about 20 years. I started out as a watercolor painter in the early 90s and switched to acrylics about 2006 and acrylic marbling, which is one of the side gigs that I do. Um, I abstract the figure is what I do. Pretty much my paintings are about relationships between people, men and women, women alone. That's kind of what I'm known for, but I do pairs and birds and other things too. I've had the honor to be in several Northwest Watercolor Society shows. And in fact, in my intro, I'm going to say that that was one of the first national shows that I got into. And so I really appreciate Northwest for being who they are and where they are. 3 hours away, but I've been up to see some of the shows before, and they always do a great job. So I do some teaching, or at least I did a lot more teaching before the pandemic. But I'm doing some Zoom workshops now on a limited basis because I like to have time to paint. I paint pretty much every day. I probably produce, yeah, over 365 paintings a year. Now, they're not all big paintings, and maybe they're studies and small things, but I just feel like that's my joy every day. If I don't do it, it's like not brushing your teeth. I just don't feel right. And I wish everyone could do that too, but I know we have other obligations and other stuff going on in life. Would you like me to continue with my just my intro now to the to the whole thing, or do you have other words you want to say?
No, it's all yours, my dear.
All right, I'll go straight on. Thank you, of course, for inviting me today. I have been a member since 2003, and I did get that painting in that first national show. And I've been entering work in Northwest and other shows ever since. It's my privilege to critique these paintings and hopefully shine a little light on their strengths as well as areas that could be further developed. For me, critique is essential to making my painting the best that it can be. Today, I have the task of critiquing your work, but I want you to know that I subject my work to the same scrutiny when I show it to my critique groups. As artists, we need to be open to suggestions, but not ruled by too many opinions. Friends and family may tell you your work is great, but your trusted friends can give you more specific and valuable feedback. And after you've been painting for a few years, you'll be able to assess your own paintings and rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of quality. My top paintings are obviously the ones that I'm going to enter into juried shows. So my goal today is to make suggestions about how your painting might be improved and made more clear to the viewer. But remember, I am just one artist with an opinion. You are the final judge of how and if you want to change your painting. Don't ever feel pressured to change a painting just because someone tells you to. Critiquing is really about making sure your painting is truly finished. Finishing a painting is one of the most difficult but rewarding skills an artist can master. Too much and you've overworked a painting, but too little and you fall short of the mark, leaving a painting that is almost there but feels incomplete. Remember when you first took up painting, if you're like me, your skill level didn't match up with what you envisioned on the paper. One of the things that helped me sharpen my skills was to go back to old paintings that I abandoned 5 or 10 years ago and fix them. After years of practice, I developed the skills I needed to fix and finish my paintings. Now I could compare these paintings to my successful ones, and I could see the difference. So in finishing up with this part of the talk, I just want to say that I used Photoshop, obviously, to mark up copies of your images, but that's not really how I work in real life. I may think about a painting for weeks, I may put it up and look at it, but once I decide what to do, I spring into action and I just make the changes on the painting. I don't mess with Photoshop. So, but it is a good tool and it's a useful tool, and I know lots of people who use it. So without further ado, we will screen share and look at the paintings. There we go, slideshow from beginning. There we go. All right. That's a weird sound. All right. So we're going to start with Angie, and she's really a master of this beautiful water drop effect. It's a very nicely painted painting, very strong colors, great orange and blue contrast there. One thought I had, and this painting is probably, fine as is, but um, forgive my crude use of the tools here. I felt like that point was kind of leading us off the page a little bit. And I wondered, and Angie knows how to, resolve this, but I just wondered if that should be shortened a little. Maybe she'd have to change the water drops as well and like that. I thought about cropping it, but that didn't work well either. I started to work a little orange, but I sort of, lost my way here over into here because she's kind of got this orange coming in from the corner. I just felt like maybe it needed to flow somewhere else. Angie's an experienced enough painter. I don't have to tell her how to fix this. All I have to do is give her a few little pointers and she'll be off and running. But you can see.
I already got a lot of ideas just from what you said.
I know you did, girl. You're so smart. I don't have to tell you. Another neat thing I did, Angie, is when I had this in rotation, I turned it on its side. I'm not going to do that now, but I had your little tiny stem on the left up here. I had that on the bottom as a vertical, and it was kind of surreal. Flip it around at home and see what you think. I mean, I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying, from critique, we often flip things around just to see what the orientation looks like and how that might.
Well, I had one question for you, because as I was looking at it, I really felt that it was all hard edges. And I'm wondering if I softened, if you might have a suggestion where I could soften.
It's pretty strong in here, don't you think? And I love this surreal kind of Salvador Dali shadow cast thing. I think that's great. But maybe, that's an excellent idea, Angie, is maybe lift out a few of the hard places.
Okay.
I think that would be beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to go through everyone's first painting first and then loop back around to the second.
Okay, super. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome. All right, let me get to the next guy here. This is a really interesting painting. It's so sepia toned. I almost didn't know how to begin it. And the part that was confusing for me, and this is what I just want to offer up, is Charlene here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, hi. It's a beautiful old-fashioned kind of sepia tone, but to me the sky was a little confusing because I couldn't figure out, is that snow back there? Is it water? Is it? I was a little confused, and I'll show you what I did in the next just to separate it out. But go ahead.
I was going to say it's a view in a Spanish town, and behind it are rocks and cliffs that go up, so it's kind of down in a little hole.
Okay. I would be interested in seeing the reference photo because I couldn't figure out if it was snow or steam, and I think what you just told me is important because it gives us a sense of context. What are we looking at here? I figured it was kind of a mining town. I'll show you in the next what I did, and I actually didn't do that much, but I did. I added some windows, but I put blue on the sky, and I'll tell you why. I didn't know what was happening, and so I was trying to separate the sky from the building so I could just tell what was going on. I love the neutral colors. You'll see that I did something. Let me go back. Oops. If I can go back. Yeah. So over here, see how this is kind of undefined? I wasn't really sure what was happening. And when I went here, I just cleaned it up a little. And I don't know if it looks like that, Charlene. But I put a little more color on here. I softened up here. You just had some areas. I know it's hard to work from a photo. I don't work from photos. So, I get that, but I think what I was trying to do is kind of make sense of what is tucked behind what here.
Yeah,
it's a very all over neutral tone painting, and we just need a little bit of help from you to help us distinguish what's going on with the buildings.
right. I'm looking very quickly for the photo here, but it's just, it's that part of Spain where everything is the same color.
Yeah,
And it all looks like the background.
I
and-
think that looks
Sure.
way the hell
get it.
better.
I get it. And sometimes when we're working, even from working photos, we have to cheat a little. We have to kind of lie to tell the truth, just to make it clearer for the viewer and just to give the viewer more interest, so the viewer can move through those buildings and kind of see them as interesting pieces by themselves and not just a big mass. But I really
Right.
like the view coming on in from the. I like how I enter this painting. I love this framework around it, this hill, this sense of looking down. You know, I'm not a realistic painter. I'm not a shadow painter. All I can do is react to this the way I see it. But I like the encircled feeling of being down into something. I think that's really cool. So forgive the blue sky. I was just trying to separate out, you know, the buildings from the background.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right, this is a hard painting. Cynthia, are you around? Cynthia?
I'm here.
Oh, hi, Cynthia. Cynthia, did you take a picture of this? Do you love this dock or love what's going on, or?
That's the west wall at Fisherman's Terminal in Seattle, which is near my home. So
Nice.
yes, I began working from a photograph. I actually used several photographs to make the composition.
Okay. I could sort of tell from a photograph. And when I was first starting to paint watercolor, I loved all this stuff too, but it's hard to paint and it's very detailed. And one thing that struck me as I looked at this, I wanted to ask you, like, what is most important to you? Because if it's this is awfully crisp and it's almost intruding a little bit into the painting. And so what I did, I have no idea if this is, I softened it a little. I just took a little hazy tool and kind of a filter over it. I wanted to knock back a little. I wanted to kind of calm down. I don't even know if I want to see its full name on there. I wanted to calm down. And this is a crude tool, but I sort of put this blue loop in because I was seeing a really neat pattern of blues. Here's some, here's some. I thought, what if it could go out, come back in, loop around, come. That's not what was in your photo, but it might help you tie this piece together a little bit better. You know, I'm seeing it in terms of abstraction almost, because you've got a lot of detail. The other thing I did, I don't want to see if you can notice that. Look at your little area here. I guess I don't know why it shifted, but I went in and I lightened up. See how you have this light, these white places? I felt like you had so much tight color going on here. I actually took my white marker or whatever you call that in Photoshop, and I just went over so I could have a pattern of whites kind of sticking through this bundle. You know, I wanted, because it's super tight in there. That is detailed, you know. So do those things make sense? I don't know. I can't tell you how to make those changes in watercolor or if you want to paint a new one, but
The depth of pushing the boat back is
pushing the boat back,
call.
it's really competing. Yeah. But nice work. That is intricate. I
Thank
don't
you.
know how to do those nets.
Those are Dungeness crab pots.
Nice. Okay, now Dawn, is Dawn around?
Don his computer died wherever he had
Oh,
work
poo,
from,
because
so-
this one was a mellower painting, but his second one is wow. So this seems to be plein air, don't you think? Kind of done on a dry, dusty day location. And it's really, I think it's probably deliberately washed out. You know, very neutral. You got your dark bits in the front. I played around with it a little. I'm not sure I made it better. I added a little bit more, you know, depth there just to break up the space. But, you know, Don might say, well, you know, Liz, it was very washed out. It was a very faded, sunny day, and I don't want your purple marks in there. And I'd go, okay, Don, that's cool. But these kind of landscapes are, you know, those colors are what they are. I would say this is a little harsh here. I don't know if I'd I might soften that line a little. I didn't do that in my thing, but I feel like it needs a little softening. But as it goes, it's a lovely neutral landscape. But wait till you see his second painting. It's even stronger. Ellen. Oops. Where is Ellen?
Hello.
Hello,
Hello,
Ellen.
hello.
Hi, Ellen. Ellen, this is a really green and lush painting, and I think you worked really hard to get, some variety here. You have, I know you have a reflection here, but it's pretty hard lined in places, and these two clumps feel like they're the same size. Do you get that? Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. So Ellen,
Which
where my
two
red
clumps?
marker
Yes.
is, the laser,
Yes.
that clump is a lot like that clump. And I just feel like in
Okay.
nature, maybe one of them would be a little softer or larger
Sure.
or different. They're a little squarish, And
They
I'm
are.
nitpicking. I'm nitpicking because I nitpick for myself too. And I'm just trying to, I hope you understand. I'm just trying to
No, that's
make
good.
your message come more clear. This felt a little hard edged too, and I'm sure you're working from a photo, and I'm sure it looked like that to you. But again, photos kind of fool our eye a little bit. They go a bit darker in places than they really should. And although this tree was probably falling over like this, you're kind of pointing me right out the corner here. So just watch your corners. You'll see what I did in the next. I just
Right.
made that tree go away.
That's good.
Maybe if you
That's
want a
good.
tree to fall down, maybe you could do it some other direction, but I just greened that up.
Oh.
And then those two clumps I talked to you about, I just sort of broke them up so they wouldn't be like square boxes. And I put a little bit of soft green over here because this line seems so hard. But I liked your grasses, and I think I cleaned up some stuff over here too. Let me go back. See how dark that is? I just feel
Oh,
like I
right.
wanted
Yes.
to break it up a little bit. I put little lines on here. So does that make sense? Were you
Yep.
working from a photo?
Yes, and this is just down the street from me. So,
Oh, nice.
and the two clumps you're talking about, and no, it doesn't look like this is what they are, but they're actually big old dead logs that are just
Uh-huh.
sticking up out of the
I
ground,
see
but
what
they
you're
aren't,
saying.
they
Yeah,
aren't recognizable though. You're
yeah, they're a
right.
little squarish. Maybe if you had one
Yeah.
come up a little, like it tore off in a different way. It's just the squareness of them.
Right.
You could still have two dead
They
trees
are.
there. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
point.
thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Farida. Now, Farida, yours is a vertical, so I put it side by side, and I want you to know that this is very different from that other painting you submitted, and I think, if I'm guessing, you may feel a little bit more comfortable here with acrylics than you do with watercolor. And is Farida there? Farida? The reason I
now.
did this door over is because I don't really understand this big dark box right here. And what I'm seeing is kind of an abstract painting with a very realistic, opening or a building around it. And it seems like it's kind of fighting styles here. Also, these two black dots look kind of like eyes in a ghost. So I thought maybe we give different door handles. Now, I don't know what Farida's after here. Maybe Farida, hi. Farida.
I'm back.
Yeah. So Farida, it feels like this is like an abstract painting with a golden arch doorway around it. And I guess what I'm going to encourage you to do is either decide if you want to do a nice abstract painting or make this door look more like a door. You know?
Liz, I appreciate your comments and your thought process on it. And this is acrylic, which I never, ever
Yes.
did before.
Yes.
I usually do oils and watercolors.
Okay.
And this was a 1 hour something class 2 years ago at the Bellevue Continuing Education with Miha, an art instructor, art history. I just went along with it with another friend who had enrolled.
Okay.
And the paints were provided. I said, okay, the acrylic, she gave me everything.
Mm,
The paints, and one of the, so not one, the attorney who came to prepare my will,
mhm.
he loved my paintings in the home, and he said he'll go home and get his wife to send something that she would like to have me paint.
I see.
Paint this door. I
Ah.
said, okay, you want a door to be painted? A door with me. And I decided to do that in an hour and a half. And along comes the instructor when I was about to finish and do more. He said, stop.
Mm,
Don't do a single thing more. Just let it be the way it is. So
Yeah.
if it is appearing like a abstract or
yeah,
semi-abstract,
it is.
perhaps what it is. And
Yeah.
people wondered about the doors, the two doors, what do they
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I have no idea, but people have rendered this to be a very spiritual effect on them. And they have connected it to many different things that have come out of this painting.
Mm-mm. No,
All
I
I
figured
have.
that. I figured that. So did you give the painting to someone? Is it?
No, it is still available as part of the Doorway series on my website.
Oh, you did a series. Good. Well, it would be interesting to see a painting like this in a series with other paintings because I think, yes, standalone, it was like, interesting. Because I
Yeah.
got a very abstracted, yes, a quick gestural, which is great because it's not overworked. And I felt sort of embarrassed that I tried to like make it into a smooth door. But I guess, yeah, it was a different kind of painting. And I could tell because you had that other watercolor that this was acrylic. I could tell it was on canvas. So yes, take it with a grain of salt. If you like it the way it is, it doesn't need to be.
It's not me, Liz. I was blown away at the comments that people gave me when they saw. I was going to go and tinker with it more.
Oh, I see. I see.
And I had no time. It was my last day of Ramadan, and I was focused on completing everything. Start tomorrow, another month. This was perhaps 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Then I let it go. And then the people who saw it, one of my neighbors, she says, Frida, paint more doors. I said, really?
That is a good idea. With this kind of thing, I imagine you can't get all the ideas down in one painting. You're going to have to explore this more.
I'll send you my website, Liz, then you can take a look at the Doorway series.
That sounds good. Anyway, so that was just my
Thank you.
impression. But I like the chunkiness of acrylic. It must be hard to work in two different modes like this more abstract way and your second painting, which we'll talk about in a bit. But anyway, the colors are quite, I can tell it's very expressionistic, and I would like it as an abstract painting.
Thank you, Liz.
All right, Linda. Which Linda do we have today? There's a couple.
Hi, Linda Dunn.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Linda, this is a really, did you paint this plein air or on location?
Plein air, yep.
Plein air, I can tell. It's really got the movement of the trees. It's just, those greens are luscious. I did do one tiny thing. This purple is interesting, but I was having a hard time reconciling it kind of with the rest of the paper because it's so low on the page. So I took the liberty of just cropping it out. You don't have to do that, but if you keep it in, you're probably going to need to tie some more purple in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it kind of leaves right there. If you were to take some more purple and kind of zigzag it back in here, you could probably get away with that. But for the sake of simplicity, I cropped it out, and I think I played around with a few softening things here. But honestly, Linda, this is such a fresh painting, and with plein air, I just, you know how it is with plein air. The more you go back and mess with it, now you've lost, when we start picking apart and revising, we've lost the freshness. So I think this is just I just love all this up here, and this glow of yellow, beautiful. And that surprise shock of red is really kind of nice. Did that just happen on your brush and you just sort of?
No, I like to stick a little complementary color in a painting to make it jazzy and jump at you and, lively.
Well done. I think what else did I do? I think I deepened this a little. These two shapes were a little bit out in left field. And I think I just brought a little bit of that in here. But honestly, Linda, I mean, with a plein air painting like this, the less messing with it, the better. I mean, I hope you do more of these. Do you have more?
Oh, yeah. I'm completely obsessed with plein air watercolor.
Beautiful. You did.
Paint all the parks. But Liz, my one question about this, or actually it's twofold, is I don't really think about a center of interest. Like I wasn't really trained that way. So I don't know if that's a missing. And also, is there like a lack of depth? That's why I put the dark in the bottom, was to sort of
I see.
make it go back. But do you feel like there's a lack of depth to this or what?
You know, this is such a fresh day with all of this glow. If you started doing heavy negative painting in here, I just think it would change everything. I think you've got some depth because you've got some wet into wet areas here. You've got strokes to make the trees go. As for focal point, this is a painting about a row of trees, and you've done something very good compositionally. You've given us this big bank here, this kind of 2/3 of the painting here, and then this kind of 1/3 strip here. And so I think that's a really good compositional ploy.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, the trees are the focus. I sort of hate that focal point thing because it dictates a lot, and you've already done a beautiful job compositionally here. So don't sweat the small stuff.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now Mary Ellie is such a wonderful painter of realism, and she's got a whole series of glass. And Mary, I couldn't find anything to do to this painting except one little niggling thing that bothered me.
Okay.
See how this comes right up to here, like this weird, like this tangent point? All I did was take my little thing and make that kind of go over the other glass. I don't know why it was, I'm nitpicking, Mary. You realize you can keep this painting as is. But that's the only thing I could.
Oh, sure.
You know, that's
yeah, no, I see what you did there. Yeah,
yeah,
I get it. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I do. I
gorgeous.
see it.
So this is number 4. I assume you have a whole series of these, yes?
I do.
Mary?
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
Far out. Do you collect glass, or do you make some of this up, or what do you do?
Well, it's all glass that I have. I have purchased some of those, but I like get them at Goodwill or, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't spend a lot of money on them.
Brilliant. That's a great idea. Setting up a really interesting set of shapes. I mean, look at all the shapes she's got. She's got, you know, a pear-shaped bottom one here and a glass, and then this very unusual with the colors. I can't even, it's just breathtaking.
Yeah, I paid $20 for that one.
You paid $20? Oh man, you could do a bunch more paintings in that mode, huh?
Yeah.
It's great
Yeah.
shape. I mean, it really calls attention to itself, and yet everything is harmonized with blue and then some green and that very deep part. It's really something. Really something. I can't find any flaws with this, Mary, except that one thing.
Gee, thanks.
No homework for you today.
Guess not.
I
Not
guess
on that
not.
one.
Yeah. All right, this is Rex. Rex from Canada. He and I have been emailing. Rex, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Rex, this is a really fun painting. I love people, and I can tell you went somewhere, maybe Italy, France.
I wish.
Oh, it's your local cafe. Lucky you.
Well, it's primarily it was made up. The people I'd studied the people, but the background it was really just made up.
Wow.
This was quite a journey of. It began as a totally different outdoor scene, and it kept changing, and I finally this one came in. This one moved inside.
I am very admiring of this because I love it when artists have the courage to make some of this stuff up. We know what an indoor interior building looks like. And even if we didn't, we could go on the internet and just glance at a picture real quick and just get the idea of, okay, windows, door, whatever. This is wonderful. And clearly things are happening right here. But it's a funny painting because they're over here, there's a clump over here, and then there's a shaft of light here. I think it all works. And all I did, I love that shaft of light. You're gonna barely able, Rex, you'll get emailed this thing so you can kind of see what I did. But all I did, see over here, watch when I turn to the next. I put a little more yellow there because I liked it. And I actually went around and blushed in a little bit of yellow. You probably can't see it because I love this over here. Love these shafts of yellow. And one thing I did, Rex, is I don't know if this is a man or a woman. It doesn't really matter, but see how red the lips and neck and face are? It seemed a little too red for me. So I just lifted that out a little bit. And I'm actually thinking maybe his lips are a little red too. But I love, he's turning to look just like people do at a restaurant. I just want to go around the room and just look at all these people. I think it's a really interesting painting, and I love how you gently treated this section over here. You told us where to look. This dark vest and this white shirt.
You know, since you mentioned that, if I could ask a question, my greatest struggle with this was because I had those two groups of people on the sort of in the center and on the right, and I had them, but as I started painting it, I thought it was like two paintings. I tie those two parts together, and I don't know if I ever really succeeded.
Rex, it's funny that you say that because now I'm looking at it and I'm kind of wishing that this was the painting. And yet, I like these guys looking over at them. That makes me, I think you've gotten away with something here.
Yeah. Well, that guy on the right, I just found, I found that and I just love that he's looking over. So to me, this is like, he's looking over and saying, where's our service here? You know, how come
yes, that waiter. Well, of course he has his own waiter.
He does have a waiter.
What's so special about those guys? Yeah. How come they're
Exactly.
getting special attention? Well, you could call this the center of attention or something, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't, like I said, I didn't know if it was a man or a woman. If it was a man, well, even if it was two women out, I mean, is there something happening here? This is a special occasion for them. You know what I mean? And it's almost like a marriage proposal. Like, what is going on? Are these guys looking over?
Yeah.
So that's the story. And I think you get away with those two clusters because these guys are all looking over here. So then you know where to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's daring.
Yeah. Could I just ask one other thing? As I'm looking at it now, that central grouping, the two people with the waiter, would it be strengthened to move that more to the middle and have that as, you know, the dominant thing and downplay everything else? Just
You know,
balance.
it does occur to me because they are in sharper focus, and I was a little bothered by how sharp in focus he was. But gosh, Rex, I almost feel like maybe you ought to try painting this again. I hate to have you lift and move around and you know.
Yeah, that's what's happening. This was just one part of the journey. Yeah.
Paint it again. And when you're working, Rex, even with this one, because it looks like a long skinny painting a little bit, put a working mat around it and see if there's a section of the painting that you like better, that works better. And sometimes we have to kill our darlings, as they say in the writing world, you know, take those precious bits and go, you know what? Not for this painting, but I'd almost like you to keep this painting and paint another one, you know?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. That will
So
happen.
thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I like this. All right. Another beautiful landscape painter. Where is Sarah?
I'm right here.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah, this is is this plein air?
No, we're hiking there though, but I didn't do it plein air.
It's a memory of or from a photo, but then you've stylized it in watercolor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The colors are just gorgeous. You know, one thought I had when I first looked at it, and you know, you could argue this, is it's almost, not quite, but it's almost dividing that picture plane in half. So, and your sky is lovely, by the way. So all I did was, not all I did, the one thing I did to look at this better was to crop it. I cropped some of the sky out so that you weren't kind of quite half sky and half landscape. Let me see if I did a few other things. So up here where you have a few darks that just sort of end, they just little dashes that just sort of end there. I tried extending them out a little, and you can do that with just a wash of indigo or whatever that is you were using. And then I also felt like this line, I'll go back to this was pretty strong. Pretty strong here, leading me out a little bit. So I just softened it up a little with some green.
Okay,
great. Those dark lines are wonderful, but just watch them when they get too close to the edge and pointing. I love this here. This is just wonderful. I wasn't sure what this is, but is this people walking?
It could be, but I think it's a rocky area on the Columbia Gorge in eastern Washington. So, there's all sorts of basalt rocks and outcroppings.
I would just say, be careful with your shapes. It's almost like a rock, but it's almost like a person. You might soften out or lift a little. They're sticking up and calling a little bit of attention to themselves without me being able to figure out what they are. I didn't put that in my original edit, but it did occur to me. But they do give it a sense of sense and scale. If those were people, that would be kind of cool. But oops, let me go back and see if I did anything else. No, I think the water was perfect, all of this. So
we'll get a copy of your.
You'll get a copy of that, yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Your colors are beautiful. All right, now we get to the next batch. We're back to Angie again. And Angie, since this was vertical, I put it side by side. Angie, do you paint from like your imagination? Or are you looking at certain things when you do this?
This one is completely from my imagination.
Nice.
So I started with one of those cellophane backgrounds.
Yep.
And then I sat on it for about 6 months and I kept flipping it around.
Nice.
And when I did it, it ended up with this big white area down the middle.
That's nice.
And so I just kept seeing a waterfall. So I just went from there.
I love it. Great imagination. Now, you probably noticed that I felt like this guy sticking over wasn't maybe adding a whole lot to this piece. So I just sort of took him out.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted something coming off of here, I mean, I suppose you could fashion it different, but it's awfully strong for where it is. And then I want you to notice something very interesting, Angie. The way you have these rocks piled on here, it looks like a little head and a body. It looks like those terracotta soldiers from China. It's real, I mean, I saw this figure. I'm like, is that Don Quixote? Who is that? And so then I said, well, I bet she didn't mean for that to be a figure. So I went in and I played around with your boulders a little bit and shaved a little off and did some things. Because you had a lot of these hard lines here. I wasn't sure I wanted them right there. And so I just took a little transparent and softened a little.
Mm-hmm.
And I softened over here a little bit. I put a little something on your tree here just so I could see him. He kind of disappears.
Oh, I see down there in the rocks.
Yep. And be careful of the tangent where this little bird is right on the crease. I just softened a little bit of white underneath him. Your birds are lovely, just like the painting that won an award in the WSO show. You are doing these birds in a lovely way.
Thank you.
I actually, something could be said for the way they disappear over here, but I actually put a little white on some of these so I could see them. I wanted to see that line of birds. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay. I thought, and then I softened up a little bit up here because I just felt like that was jutting a little hard for me.
Okay, I can soften that. I don't know about taking that one rock out because, you know, I think it's a pretty staining color. Most of them are Daniel Smith.
Oh, I know, isn't it? This is watercolor. It's a very delicate operation. I'm just, you see, this is the thing about Photoshop. I can Photoshop all day long, but it's really hard for the artist to make all those little corrections, you know. But I think now that you've done this in this style, you probably will do others in this series, and I think you would just be I think to be a slightly stronger painting, but it's a very well done painting.
Thank you. Somebody asked, this is on Arches 300-pound cold press.
Ah, okay. Does Arches lift any better? 300-pound?
Yes, 300-pound lifts, and I can soften. I like your idea about softening the edges.
You can tickle that and do that, I think.
What I may be able to do is where you took the rock away, I might be able to just adjust the shape.
Yes, yes, I think so.
I don't think I can take that away.
That's right. And notice this too, Angie. See this really hard part right here? I kind of glazed over that, and I don't know if you use gouache or, you know, some opaque teal paint, you know, some color that's slightly more opaque just to go over.
Right.
But you can also lift out. You know how to do that. So.
Oh yeah, I know how to lift. Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful.
Thank you. It's different. It's a little departure. I've been studying the Art Nouveau period. Not that I want to paint Art Nouveau.
No, the colors.
Yeah, the colors and the way that the long flowing lines and the curvilinear stuff. And so it's been kind of fun to try to impart that. The piece that's in WSO is much more Art Nouveau-ish, I think.
Yeah, I think you're onto something here. I see a new direction in your work that's really exciting.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right. This is Charlene again, my gal who did, you did, oh, that's right. You did the lobster. That's the first time. Charlene?
Yes.
There you are. This is lovely. Is this plein air?
No, but it is a place that I do plein air a lot. So it was a day I was out doing it and I snapped some photos.
Nice. It's very freshly done. I can see, you know, your mark making. I can definitely see the hand of the artist. This is one, and I'm going to show you, you know, how I might change it, but this is one I can tell it's got dark staining watercolor on it. So take this with a grain of salt because you could probably just do a new painting. I love the composition. Your sky is beautiful, the way the water runs through. What was catching my eye a little bit, I know this is a reflection, but it's a little sharp for me. And all I did was sort of soften an edge a little because it just had this shape that was so very hard right there. And I just would like to see that maybe lifted out a little with water or changed a little. I don't think, oh, and then the other thing was, and it may have looked like this and it may be the way the paint dried, but this is a pretty hard line back here. And I really like this fuzzy place. Of course, you can't make this happen again unless you do it a second time. But in Photoshop, I just put a little glaze of purple over here to kind of settle down that sharp mountaintop.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
You know, I mean, like I said, Photoshop, you can do anything. It's a little bit harder when the painter takes her paintbrush up and tries to do it. And then if you go back here again, there's a couple of harsh shapes that are just a little strong. And I just fuzz the edge of it a little bit in a couple of places. That's all. But I mean, this is the kind of painting that if you love this scene, you'll just do it again. You know what I mean? So this is just a learning tool. Very nicely done. Great colors.
Thank you.
This is Cynthia. I want Cynthia back. I really like this painting. I put them side by side, and I don't know what happened to the second one because it looks like I tilted everything, but I didn't. What I love about this painting is the glass in the windowsill is like an Andrew Wyeth painting or something.
That was my inspiration.
Was it? I'm so glad. And the frame around the window, this is just such a neat view of you're in this interior, there's a table, there's some papers, there's all this precious glass, and you're looking out. Now, you probably saw what I did. It's a little crude, but if you notice over here, Cynthia, you've got this really strong vertical line just coming like right in the window, and it may have looked that way, but I'm thinking that you could just, you know, fake it a little, soften it up, And forgive my skills because I went over the windowsill, but you can see how now you're able to look out the window unimpeded by this really dark place. I also took the tiniest, oh my goodness, it was so hard in Photoshop because the tinier the dot gets, the harder it is to do. But I just touched up a place or two on this, whatever is out here.
The sailboat.
Because all you see is a dark shape and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just touched up a little black on the top to make that either the ship is or the buoy.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It's a memory sailboat. This was after my husband passed, and this was a memory piece for him. Yeah,
That's
we're sailors.
beautiful. This is a very peaceful and beautiful paint. I want to go in this room and I want to touch this. I was really taken with this. I don't think again, Wyeth is a really great comparison. That is a compliment for sure.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Very, very good comments. Thanks.
Yeah, and I don't know how hard it is to lift that out or whatever, but
Oh, it's been sold. I can't do it.
okay, good. Well, you're done. But maybe you need another. And this glass, you've really got a feeling for that. These old objects. I would really think about doing a windowsill. With glass. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, Don, who's not here. I mean, look at this painting. What can you criticize? It's so gorgeous. And so all I did was, if you look at this painting, there's a wonderful yellow. He's got kind of a yellow here, and then he's got kind of yellow haze in the sky. And I thought, well, we're artists, we're not photographers. So what if we just put a little yellow in the boat here, little yellow under here, little under here, just to lead your eye back into the painting. It's a very, these boats are very cold, you know what I mean? And so putting that little touch of yellow there and there and there and there made this painting feel a little more alive, that's all. But it's expertly painted. I mean, he could say to me, Liz, I don't want to touch a hair on its head. And I'd say, okay, that's cool. He's just given us a wonderful path. You see this? It's almost like the letter Z or in reverse or something like that. He's let us in, he's let us out, and he's brought us right into that painting. And very well done. This is a really, really nicely done painting. Maybe he'll get to see it in the videotape, in the tape later. Okay, this was neat. Where's Ellen?
Hi.
Hi, Ellen.
Yeah, this is
Ellen,
a little kitten.
This is a frisky little painting, and you called it Scaredy Cat, didn't you? Or
Yeah.
yeah, it's really neat. And as I looked at it, of course, he's the star of the show. There's no question. But one thing I thought is, if this is a tire and he's in front of it, I'd sort of like to see him go over it a little more so he's not tangent right there. And also, this is a tire. I'm not sure this would be the same color as this, so I'll show you what I did. I just made it like a white wall tire, you know, or something. You could play around with something, but see how now that separates it from this ground. Yellow gold ground. Yeah. And I just, not very gracefully, I put a little more hair on his tail so he'd sort of go over the tire.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change a hair on his head because he's obviously adorable. I think I cropped a few rocks. Your rocks are kind of jaggedy and dark and close to the edge, and I think I cropped it in a little just to show the top of the rock. I don't need that much information on the rocks so close to the page. Does that make sense?
Okay. It does. That's great. Yes.
And I don't know if you use gouache or something, or you can lift out, but I would just say make this yellow color that's inside the tire different from this. You know?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very, very nice painting. All right, Farida. Now, watercolor is a very difficult medium, and I bet this felt different doing this than that abstract acrylic you did in that class. The reason I can't really do a whole lot with this is, one, I'm not super good on Photoshop, and the other thing is, well, you had a little glare on the picture when you photographed it, but I really think that this well painted rose, very well painted, but everything else, it gets kind of washed out and disappeared against that fence, which this is what happens when we paint dark fences. So, and I've painted roses in my time, but I usually try not to put them against a dark fence because I'm going to either have to mask off all those roses. This is a very hard subject to tackle. One of the people I would suggest you look at for flowers, she's done roses and other things, is an Arizona artist named Betsy Dillard Stroud. And her wet into wet roses are just gorgeous. There are other rose painters and flower painters you could look at too. But I think the way that you've painted this, it feels like it's from a photograph. And it feels a little tight for that reason. And I think if you went loose first and then added your detail, it would be easier to paint this painting. That being said, I do think this is a fabulous flower. There's some nice lights over here, but things just get lost in the mix over here. And I'm not really sure how to tell you to overpaint that unless you use like some white gouache or something. So this is a tough one, but I would say roses take a lot of practice. We in Oregon have the rose show every year, and a lot of us paint roses, but we've opted not to paint them photorealistic. We've opted to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room and make them a little more wet into wet, because what you're trying to do is pretty difficult.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes.
This photograph is the way it is in kind of the glare you notice.
Yes.
It's already framed. I couldn't take it out of the frame.
I understand.
Give you the original photo.
I understand. That's all right.
What you've done after is very much like the original painting.
Oh, okay.
And this is the Friendship Garden in my home in the front yard.
Oh,
And
nice.
this was a very late October blooming, which was still blooming way after the summer was on its way out. And this is Sandy's rose, one of my friends who gave me the rose bush.
Well,
and I had never done a rose before, and I said,
wow.
Okay, let me try it.
Wow, that's hard. So one thing, and Farida, you know this because you paint with other Northwest gals. It is best to, and I know I don't, for this, but if you were entering this into a show, obviously you would have to take it out of its frame and photograph it properly. Everyone, I'm sure, knows that. I just wanted to emphasize
yes.
that.
Yes, and Sue had mentioned that to me, and she really worked hard on even sending this to you to be great.
Yes, I know, but
I appreciate it. Thank you.
A lot of us are just in the habit now, before we even frame or mat it, we drop that thing on the floor, we get our iPhone or however else we photograph our paintings, and we take it before we mat and frame it. That's very helpful.
Lesson learned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to add that anything that has been critiqued at any of these AZR meetings is not eligible to be entered into any Northwest Watercolor shows. So that's just more information for all of us to get work critiqued, okay?
Yes, that's a good, that's a policy. It doesn't mean you can't enter it in another show, a different show, but just not in Northwest. That's kind of the working rule.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay, Linda, back to Linda. Now this is another fresh painting that I suspect was painted live and not from a photo. Am I right about that?
It was from a photo.
What's
that I took live. I was there. I took the photo. I painted it. Yeah.
But you painted it a very plein air way, which I'm very proud of you, because I know how photorealistic we can get when we look at a photo. It looks like you were just sitting there kind of summing everything up real quickly with your brush, and you fooled me. My minor criticism, and it's not even a big one, but you probably know it. The foliage on top of this umbrella was like flaming green coming out of the umbrella. I just pushed that down and put some more greenery behind here. I mean, if that's important and you want to show how high the greenery was, you know what, but you just think about that, because it's really calling attention to itself. That's it. I mean, everything else, I love the way you express the chairs, the people. I wish we could all simplify like this, It
I was
just-
just taken by the design, like the crisscross of the values of those umbrellas.
Yes.
And I thought they led really nicely into each other and kept your eye on the page.
They
So
do. I love the underbelly of this guy and the variety of shapes where they overlap. Very nice. You obviously know how to work from photos, and I think a lot of us get bogged down in the weeds, and we want to paint every bit of the thing. So nice job on this.
yeah, I had entered it into the show and it didn't get in. So I was like, okay, what do I need to fix?
Well, Linda, you're not alone. I didn't get into this show either, so
Okay, I feel
I
better.
want to talk to someone in management. Just kidding. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mary is one of these artists who, you all probably know what negative painting is, where you wash a bunch of colors over a watercolor paper, let dry, draw your painting, and then get in there between the leaves and paint all those darks. Well, I think Mary did this. I think she said to me, I've never done negative painting before. And then she comes up with this. And it's like, really? Come on.
No, this isn't my first negative.
Okay, but
painting.
you
I've done smaller ones. I've just never done one this big.
Okay. How big is this?
I
have it somewhere.
I don't know, 16 by 16.
That's pretty big. That's pretty big. But anyway, you clearly have a mastery of watercolor. I mean, there's not a flaw on this thing. It's like smooth skin. The only thing I could even think to tell you was, hey, maybe give this prominent guy a little bit more blush. Because it's a very green. It's a very green painting. You've got hints of this pink. But I thought, why not go whole hog and make somebody the star of the show?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I tried to add more, and maybe I need to add more than I added because, when I started, I didn't have as much, and then I added, but I can see where it's, from what you did there, I can see where I could do that.
It might be helpful, it might not. I mean, this painting is so wonderful because all four of your corners are fairly different. Your composition is lovely because you've let some leaves cut off the edge. This guy is clearly the largest shape, and all these ones are in supporting. And then I love all these great negative little crevices of green with a little red in. So I think your values are quite good on this. It's a very well done painting.
Thank you. I was wondering if I needed to add any more texture to any of the other flowers, or if it's...
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you've got a lot of smooth guys. That's true, but I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I've looked at it for so long that I needed another pair of eyes to look at it and see if I should or shouldn't.
I think these plain parts are lovely. I would not start putting veins on all these leaves. No.
Oh, not on all of them. No.
I know, but even if you started touching around, then you've got a sameness. You've got a 50-50 thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're wise to make this the biggest flower, have the most prominent veins there. And it doesn't have to be all this pink blush. I mean, you have a hint of blue here too. Don't take my slide too literally. I think you can sneak a bit of this violet blue in here too.
Okay.
Yeah. You're on the right path.
Okay. Well, for me, this is, it's not as realistic as I ordinarily paint. So it's
right.
A different thing to do.
That's a good point. It is imaginative. It has a lot of imagination. And you didn't really work from a photo, did you?
I started with a photo, but then once I did my drawing, then, I just did the colors and I never mind the painting. I mean, the photograph, I just went with whatever was there. And
yeah. No, that's a good way to do it. It's like a puzzle, isn't it? After you start doing negative painting, it's like, oh, I can put a little negative there, and yeah, really, really nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Rex. So Rex's painting, I mean, when I looked at it, and I think you can see when you look at it too, it's like something John Salmonen or one of these, or even Bill Hook, for example, would do with construction and buildings and line work. But, you know, he really wanted some advice on this because I think, Rex, you said you put it in you submitted it to either a national show or a Northwest show and it didn't get in. And
Yes, I did. Yeah. And,
yeah.
you know, I submitted it. It's 2 or 3 years old, and I submitted it, and I couldn't believe it got rejected, actually.
I
So
know.
I've lived with it for 3 years. I've looked at it from every angle.
I
and
know.
It still
Well,
to me is a
you've
strong.
come to the right place because
Yeah.
now you have new people to look at it from a new angle. And by the way, I told Rex, and I'll share with all of you, if you have a painting that's 3, 4 years old, which obviously, you know, is too old to enter into competition, and you go back to it, as I do all the time with my work, pull it out of your pile, start looking at it, and start making changes to it, you've reset the clock on that painting. You know, it's not the same painting it was 4 years ago. So Rex could submit this to a show besides Northwest. If he makes, you know, and it's not like there's a percentage of significant changes. I mean, if he makes any changes to this, it's not the painting that it was 3 years ago. So with that in mind, I want you to just think about something I did, Rex, here. Your bucket gives us a great sense of place and what's happening here, but it's a little centered for me. Now, I'm not saying it belongs here because as I look at this, I'm not sure that's the right place for it either. But it was bothering me a little bit that it was right there.
Mhm.
And if we're going to get mathematical, and overlapping shapes are wonderful, by the way, I would watch your spaces and distances between things. These are the kind of nitpicky things that jurors who do this kind of work will ding you on, you know? So the space from here to here, and maybe here to here, and here to here is kind of equidistant. And but you've done some wonderful things here, which is lead us right where we want to go, to those guys. I mean, look at this. You've got a line here, they're on a line. It's almost like an X composition. Now, if you look, Rex, so here's the original. As I move the bucket, I shadowed some of these foreground boards a little. I'm not saying they go just like that, but it gives them more interest than just a bunch of sticks the same color.
Mhm.
Like I said, we're cheating a little bit here because maybe the light wasn't like that. And then that line you had here, these are wonderful fine lines, but they just sort of stop. And I was like, huh. So what if we, and you know, forgive my Photoshop skills, but what if we, you know, lighter color, I grayed down some of your white lines because they were so strong, Rex.
Mhm.
They were almost pulling me out of the painting. And I love this dry brush here. I
Yeah.
love this broken line.
Yeah. I like that line going out. I think that adds to it.
It does something a little, because be careful, your painting is almost, not really, but this lovely texture and stuff over here, it goes right over here. But if you're not careful, it can perceive to be kind of a half down the middle. I also grade this little stick going up. I don't know what he is, but he's awfully bright. And I
Oh,
just felt like he was taking away from your two men.
okay.
These are the tiny things that will drive you out of your ever-loving mind. But I swear, jurors who see this kind of painting, I can't look into their brain, but I know they look for all this little stuff.
Mhm.
But it's such a wonderful painting, and the story is right here. These guys are amazing. Oh, I think I also took out, see this little stick coming out at the end, the railing? It just seemed kind of jutting out, like I didn't need it. So you'll get these before and after pictures, so you can kind of tell where I'm going at. But just think about the distance between these things. Maybe the bucket goes right here.
Mhm.
You know, you can actually get a piece of white paper out, Rex, and cut yourself a little bucket to scale and move it around.
Yeah, yeah, I could try that.
Because you're almost here with this painting. I mean, this painting, I could definitely see it getting touched up by you and getting into another show.
Yeah. I still like it a lot.
I like it a lot. It's got legs. It just needs a little bit more to push it over the edge and make it, you know, magnificent.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, I think we've got one. I think we're almost to the last here. Sarah, back again with another beautiful landscape. And okay, now this is, was this done on location, Sarah, or from a photo?
Well, I'm a big hiker, so this is another favorite spot that I know from. It partly was it was a photo, but also an area that I know really well.
Neat. Okay, it's very fresh, and I love this treatment up here. You've shown me what is close up, what's important. You led me back in. Now I'm having, and I'm not very good with drawing with Photoshop, so I'm having a little bit of trouble with these buildings.
Yeah.
But I know there's an answer. I know there's an answer, and so I didn't do much. I started to straighten out the edge here. I think you can get away with it, but this guy's kind of in the middle. But what I'm having trouble with is only the peak of a little bit of the roof here. Like for a moment I had to go, what is that? You know, it's a little unclear. You see what's happening, how the edge of this house is touching.
I don't do many houses, so this was
It's hard, isn't it?
experiment.
I mean, and yet if I took them out, it would change the painting, you know, completely. I guess I'd have you paint this again or something, because you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to take this house and move it over a little, because it's right on the edge.
Oh, okay.
And yet your composite, look how you did. You're big here, you lead me back in, you lead me back, I'm back here. I mean, it's just, I feel like I'm nitpicking, and yet there's something that bothers me about this.
Well, me too. That's why.
That's why you wanted Liz to fix it. And Liz was like, I don't know. Again, with these houses, just like I told Rex, and I know this is watercolor and it would be a little work to lift it out, but if you could compose yourself or even paint one to scale on watercolor paper, cut it out and move it around or something, you might be able to see where that guy belongs. And then with this dark roof, you're probably used to lifting out heavy watercolor, aren't you? Or
I am, if I have the right, like the person was saying, if it's not that permanent.
I know.
Yeah, it's like,
I sometimes cut a shape around it, like a manila folder. I cut a shape and I put it over that, and then I lift out with a sponge over and over.
Okay.
And that can do it, because you don't want to just scrub out that roof shape and then you've got left the roof shape, you know?
Right.
But you're onto something. This landscape is beautiful, and these buildings give it a sense of place and everything, but you know, they're just not quite in the right place. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful painting.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
There's the after.
Thank
All
you.
right. Oh my goodness, are we done? We're done. How did we do that? Hey. Oh, do I need to do something here?
Liz, that's wonderful. I'm glad you were able to, go through all these paintings and give good suggestions to everyone.
Yeah, wow. Oh my goodness, look how I did it in like less than 90 minutes.
Great, great.
Well, some of us who've been in a lot of critique groups know how to keep it moving along. And of course, these paintings were also wonderful. I just didn't, there wasn't enough to say about all of them, I guess.
Well, I'm really glad that you were able to let us join you into your studio, and we really appreciate that. So
Thank you. Well,
Linda, do you have anything to say? Where's Linda?
Linda.
I'm here. I was hoping that you could tell us, Dolores, who's going to be next month.
Yeah, come on, Dolores, give it up.
Come on.
We have our local artist that has visited our general meetings and has had workshops here for us. It's going to be Ron Stokes. And so
Ron Stokes, okay.
we are really looking forward to that, just as much as we were looking forward to having you. And we really enjoyed everything. We had a great number of artists come to this meeting, and we really appreciate you guys joining in with us. So, Linda, take it away.
I hope that every one of you quickly gets on and re-registers for next month's event. And I hope to see you then. Tell your friends. And thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.